What You Doing podcast. I am the AC. This is another podcast, and I have another guest co-host.
Hi. So I'm Allison Graham. I went to school with AC at Tennessee Tech. In 2010 to 14. And since then, I've moved around the country a little bit, and I've been juggling teaching jobs. So that's what I'm going to talk about today.
Yep. Yeah, we knew each other for a little while, and then you came back to Cookville a little bit before you went off to do your master's. But before we get into all that, I'm going to introduce myself. I am, like I said, the AC. I am currently a master's student in ethnomusicology in Hawaii. But when I'm not doing that, I want to just do other stuff and take my mind off the academic. I like to do YouTube videos. I do a little thing called Bite, which is like Vine, second Vine. And then I started this podcast because I wanted to get back in touch with older friends that I lose touch with because I suck at staying in touch in the first place. And, lately everyone's stuck at home. I've started slowly talking to more people, trying to be a little bit more social on social media, putting that all out there, and then thought this podcast would be a great way to connect with people in an interesting way and just have another outlet to share what my friends are doing if they ever want to plug anything or just share their own lives and experiences because I'm always interested to hear what they're doing. I just suck at remembering to actually do that. But let's go ahead and talk, Allison. So, tell me about teaching. Just let's start off in general with what you've been doing.
Sure. Well, since I moved back to Oklahoma, where my family's kind of based out of, oddly enough, I was one of those teachers who, after the first year of teaching, I was like, what did I just do to my life? Like, what have I gotten myself into? And I totally had planned on just like jumping ship and getting as far away as possible. But I moved back here and like immediately started getting calls from people like, hey guys, there's a percussionist in town. We need percussion teachers. And I got lined up with some gigs, and then I started getting calls from Kansas City, and I was like, wow, like maybe there's a lot more to this than my one experience that I started out with. So right now I am an acting instructor at a junior college in my area called Northeastern Oklahoma A&M College. And I am a craft coordinator at a Boys and Girls Club in Southwest Missouri, which is about 45 minutes away from where I live. And before January, I was also an adjunct instructor at Missouri Southern State University, also in Joplin. So we could talk about that and how all those transitions happen later. But that's basically what I'm doing right now.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. So I knew you're doing a lot of teaching stuff. Like I said, I get a gist of what people's lives are going about. I'd never know what their lives consist of more than what I see on social media. So, I guess you are like one of my first friends that went and started teaching in a college level.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've had friends who do the whole teaching for like GAs and all that stuff, but not as like an actual job. Pretty much is. What is like teaching at a college level of any degree, like similar, different than just teaching public school?
Well, it's odd because they are two very different systems. Some people, I think wrongfully claim, everybody in college wants to be there. Gen Eds and scholarships say that's not right. But there's a lot who pass their classes and do that sort of thing, do whatever they can to retain scholarships and their ability to graduate. Obviously, like one of the biggest differences is you're working with young adults, rather than with children or with teenagers. And so, in some ways, that can be nicer because you don't have to sugarcoat things as much. But at the same time, you're also coaching young adults who are entering kind of life. I don't want to necessarily independently for the first time, because a lot of them, have had to support themselves through high school or whatever. But there is so much more intricate problems that you face, getting to know the students than you do teaching like elementary school. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, when I was doing my residency, my student teaching, when I was at Tech, I had a tendency to never want to leave my band room and only do music stuff all the time. And one of the turnoffs for me was mainly just the fact that I had to do all these extra things like bus duty, lunch duty, assemblies, blah blah blah. I just want to teach music all the time. Is there a lot of obligations, a lot of other stuff outside of music that comes with what you do?
With the college side, there is so much time that I spend in my office. The time that I'm in rehearsal and the time that I'm lecturing in a class is minimal, really. Like, even as an adjunct instructor where I taught, 3 music appreciation courses, like directed the drum line for marching band, did lessons. I think I was in my office more hours of the day than anything else. So there's a lot of paperwork that somehow ends up coming in with it, and a lot of things you have to do online. I had no idea as a student in undergrad how much time professors spend just checking email and responding to emails and trying to figure out from crazy run-on sentences with no section number, or like sometimes not even the student's name, like what a student's trying to ask you, on top of all the floods you get from the faculty circuit email and all that. But I mean, there's not in college you don't have things like gate duty. But of course, if you're the band director, you're going to be at all the football games and likely all the basketball games too, if you've got a pep band going on, which if you've got band, you pretty much do.
Yeah. I used to love that stuff, the whole game stuff when I was a student in high school. I liked it a little bit when my first year at Tech, and then I hated it for the rest of my time there. And I didn't keep it anymore. I know. Oh man, I mean, you weren't there my last year, but I was, to quote someone, me playing cymbals and drumline for my last semester in marching band was. They never seen me try. They never seen anyone try so little at something, and that was just me my entire last year of marching band. I was like, I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
But as a student,
Well, I mean, yeah, I think, was it your second year when I was in my senior year?
Yeah.
Or something like that. I remember being so burnt out at that point because I think, do the 4 years of high school and then like 2 years of drum corps and also 4 years of college band. And I was just like, man, I understand band. I understand the bass drum. No more. Yeah.
Oh man. I mean, it had it. If anything, it was just like the people, the other, especially when we were on baseline together. Us together as a baseline was fun, but then, man, the paces got shit on a lot.
Yeah, dude. Like that whole, I don't know why, but our section was just dogged out that year, man. Like constantly. There's some stuff that I don't want to say on video. But I just remember being sassy as like savage to a director at the time. So I was like, man, you are putting us in a position, reaming us in front of like 300 people in public. Like, you have no right to be saying the things that you're saying to us over a loudspeaker.
Yeah, and it was like uncalled for. Like there was never a justified reason. It's like we weren't doing bad. There was just he never liked the bass line ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I don't know, man.
but whenever I was in control of the bass drums, oh man, he probably hated it the most because I was like, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to do what I want, and we were just like, any song, like Up in the Stands, he'll be like, just do a straight beat. And I was like, okay, we're going to do lasers down the drum line, just 16 note runs. And then, of course, I'll be in the back. And I was like, here, I got your beat, and I'll just be doing as loud and as hard as I can to where I was just
Well,
like,
yeah. No, it was an interesting experience for me, was realizing that the bulk of college bands in the US are not serious, like especially in the stands. That's like where it's kind of party city, because we really had like a much more regimental kind of feeling to ours, even though it wasn't necessarily refined.
yeah.
It was just an odd style. Something fun about NEO is, for whatever reason, we have this long-standing partnership with the Bahamas. And so we have a bunch of international Bahamians come in every year. And our band is like this crazy mix of like kids that have been in HBC schools, which are historical Black colleges.
Mm-hmm.
There's kids that transfer in from there. There's kids that transfer straight from Bahamas, or sometimes, they've saved up, they've worked a few years till they could pay tuition, and then they enter college from there. And then we have like these podunk kids from, Nowheresville, Oklahoma, which I think is actually a town here, by the way.
I know nothing about
that
it.
will come in. They've like never been outside of, the 4 states in our area or whatever. And then everybody's got a totally different experience coming in, and they meet each other and they're just like, who are you? So it's interesting piecing together a program that way, because you get a lot of kind of these conflicts. I think that we need to have this set in stone this way. There's all that group, and there's the group that's like, you want me to keep time while I'm marching? What is this? And then there's kids that never learned to read music that are thrown in there. There's kids that are from like those really competitive bands, high school bands, and it's we somehow managed to create programs that kind of incorporated all of those ideas into one. It was not super refined. We did a different show every single week. But the kids were exposed to a lot there, and it was fun and interesting seeing a program that was way done differently than I had ever done as a performer.
It is interesting. Yeah, the marching band here in at Hawaii, they do a new show every week, I think, or at every home game, whatever. And that was a weird thing for me here. I was like, oh man, because we'll do one show the entire season,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing a different show each time was like, how good are they actually getting it? And of course, I would hear them, and they sounded fine. Now I'm just like, did we just waste a lot of time playing only one show when we could have been doing more? But then it'll take us like the first third of the semester just to like get the whole show on the field, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you just weren't good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, part of it is the difference in drill.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, like, because there are forms that you can do that are a lot simpler that you could set, and the number of sets that you have, the number of pages, so to speak. But yeah, it's incredible to me that it took us that long to set stuff, because at NEO, we would like never have everybody on the field until game day most of the weeks, and somehow everybody marched, like for better or worse. So, but yeah, I mean, I got to a point, especially towards my last year, where I started thinking, whenever all of our schools push to just do that one show and perfect it throughout a season, there's a lot that you can miss out on, and trying to refine and refine and refine one show. You're missing out on things like sight reading, and exposure to other styles, and just versatility and these sort of things. And with all of that goes, it shrinks your musical experience a bit. So I was happy at CU that I didn't really have to touch the marching band, sorry. Because like I said, I had like 10 seasons under my belt by the time I graduated tech, and I had also been like teching drum lines across Tennessee. So it was like, I freaking get it, guys. Yeah. Anyways.
I started in middle school.
Yeah, a lot of groups do that too.
So by the time I finished, I also had 10 years. That was, 10 years of marching. Not even, I never did pit stuff.
To me too, it's just wild. I have never seen a tenor line that hasn't been like almost all just, the shrimpiest looking kid you could have found. You're going to strap a drum that weighs like at least their weight,
Oh, that's right.
Them.
I think I'm the same. When I think back on it.
Dude, yeah.
I may have
like it's incredibly bad for your bodies, and
my back kills me still.
Yeah. And we don't do a lot, I think, as marching professional teachers or whatever, in addressing the anatomy and all of the things that we can be doing physically to like prevent injury.
Yeah.
And doing specific regimental exercises, because the fact is, you come in as 100-pound kid going to strap on a drum, you don't have the muscle mass to support that correctly. You're going to compensate in bad areas and hurt yourself. And I think it's a little bit irresponsible for us to be behaving like that. So that's sort of my issue, just as a responsible citizen, whenever I look at the marching arts activity. But I think it's something that we could, treat if programs would build in ways to do that.
Yeah, I know, looking back at my time at tech, I think there was one class where we talked about just taking care of yourself. It was Pulte's class. And then there was like, we had one person come in and do like at combo, and that was it. But yeah, I was thinking about hitting this topic later. So, but I want to talk about it now since you brought up injury, because you hurt your hands, mainly, I guess, mainly from a lot of marimba playing, and just no one really, I guess, coaching you on taking care of your hands and all that stuff, because we get drilled into us, especially doing drum corps, to do this really strict technique. And I remember that because it was also when you came back to Tennessee before you went to do your master's, and I remember you working, and it was just, you seemed miserable, but you pushed through, and it was honestly really admirable. I think that's how you said that word. For me, it was just seeing someone push through all this stuff, even though I could see how much pain it was. What eventually did you do to help with your pain?
Yeah. Okay, so a lot of stuff going into this. So I'm pretty sure that I started developing carpal tunnel in drum corps because I was having shooting pains my second season, especially when I would push the marimba. And I just remember how many blocks I was in pain. It went away, while I was finishing my degree, but I took on a factory job eventually. And I was doing the same exact thing for like 12 hours a day. And that repetitive stress kind of triggered a lot of stuff. At the same time, that was when I was preparing for master's degree auditions. And so I would clock in 12-hour shift, and then the next day I would clock in like 8 hours in the practice room or whatever. And so it was a whole lot of stress on my body and my hands. The very first thing I did was actually in Tennessee to treat. I got into physical therapy, and one of like an awesome things that physical therapist did is she had me video myself at several angles while playing at a marimba. And she analyzed my posture, because whenever she analyzed my posture, even just standing, she found all of these different issues and gave me ways of checking myself and my alignment so that I would stand taller. I'm not doing a great example of showing these things because I'm using a phone to record and it's set in an awkward place, so I feel like I have to scrunch a little bit. But normally people are always like, man, you stand up so straight. Are you prissy or whatever? And I'm like, no, I was injured. And I had to go through a lot to train myself to like sit and stand comfortably. But yeah, so she videoed all those things and like pointed out when I was slouching and all that. And we did all kinds of treatments that we don't need to go into, but a lot of it was also muscle development and other ways to combat inflammation. I spent my entire graduate program in excruciating pain. And the sad thing was, once I was finally diagnosed and being treated in Tennessee, they basically told me that was probably what was going to happen. And I battled for part of my master's degree, whether I was making the right choice in kind of pushing through it or not. But at this point, it is what it is. If I could go back, I would probably have done college a lot differently, and definitely waited at least for that graduate degree. Because with performance degrees, I don't know, a lot of people responsibly, they'll get the ed degree for your undergrad because you want to have a job at the end of the day. And then you go into a performance degree for your master's, and you're in ensembles for 5 hours a day. You've got lessons, you've got recitals to prepare, and you're normally being asked to play on other people's recitals too. So there is so much, even though you're only taking like maybe 2-3 classes a week, you are at the building constantly. So anyways, it was a lot. I was on pain meds for a while. Those don't actually treat underlying conditions. They just mute the pain a little bit. And so it can hurt you a little bit. And so as I figured that out and I was nearing the end of my degree in Colorado, I weaned myself off of them. It was terrible, but I did it. And it took about half a year after I graduated for me to start realizing like, oh, there's been time since I had a flare-up because I haven't felt this much pain in so long. But throughout that program, I also spent almost all of my lessons, especially initially, like learning new grips and changing how I held things and even how I opened doors. And I had a lot of coaching from my studio teacher, Dr. Doug Walter, because he was also injured way long ago, and he just learned all kinds of ways to continue his career, decades after that injury. I still have flare-ups today, and I do avoid playing to an extent, but they are nothing like they were years ago. And part of it is because I play loose. as a goose. I am very intentional in my practice. I do a lot of score study and visualization techniques. And I'm always mindful of like, because you get to a point, whenever you're focused on something where you start ignoring pain. And that was drilled into me way early on in high school when it was like, oh, if you're not in pain, then you're not doing it right. You got to So all those dumb, like, you got to be strong. You have to hurt to be strong. Like, that's really unhealthy mentality that I've been training myself over the years to abandon.
Yeah. Oh man.
Sorry, that was so long.
No. I like a good explanation because it was stuff I wondered about. Like I said, I'll keep up with some of the stuff, and it like taking care of yourself is really important. I'll nowhere near have any kind of pain level that you experience, but I had this same kind of mentality in high school. It was like, if you're not hurting yourself, you're not doing it right. And like, I killed my back. I was one of those. I used to be somewhat scrawny, especially compared to now, but that played tenor, and like, it just killed my back because like, there's this, oh yeah, make sure you're always standing straight, but it's like nobody's really holding you to that, so you're always just standing in awful posture, and it was terrible. And then like, I killed my back in high school, and then going into college, I was still just like, well, I'm just going to deal with it. And like, it wasn't terrible all the time, but I would just have like flare ups where it's like, oh, my back hurts a little bit, I don't really want to do. There was only one time there was one time in high school and one time in college where my back absolutely killed me, and it's because the one time in college is we harnessed a drum on me that didn't fit appropriately, and then they just went and they didn't give me time to adjust it, and it wrecked my back, and I was in pain for days. But even now, as an adult, I'm still just dumb, and I throw myself around a lot because I think it's funny. But like, there's this young mentality where you're like unbreakable. You're not. Take care of yourself. Like,
no. Yeah, nobody tells you that it's not, you'll hurt the day after, but you'll hurt 10 years after.
Yeah. Yep. Oh man, yeah. I'm only 25, and I always joke that I'm an old man, and like, doesn't feel like it. But the other thing is hearing. Like, my hearing is absolute garbage now too, because I was like, I never have to. I never need to wear earplugs because I'm not going to go.
Yeah, because it's your ears should ring because they're playing drums.
Yeah,
because it's cool. And I wore earplugs throughout. At a point, once finally somebody came in and told us about hearing damage in high school, I started wearing them religiously. You may remember I just had those goofy looking, because I would get those earbuds from, it's the gun section of Walmart. And so they're like bright orange or bright yellow or whatever. And they have a little string. So I just, especially when I was in college still, I would keep a pair that had string attached to them tied around my neck so that anytime I was about to play or be near a drum, like, shove those bad boys in there for sure. I remembered something that I forgot to talk about as you were talking about your back pain. One of the other restorative practices that I adopted in Colorado was doing yoga. Wow. And specifically learning certain positions combined with physical therapists and all that alleviate not necessarily pressure points, but they will expand areas where you keep tension and help relieve it. And for me, the biggest area that I still do that for that most is the back. Because I do have ulnar nerve syndrome and carpal tunnel, but basically I think my whole body has inflammation issues, and those can come up anywhere where you have a lot of pressure chronically. So later I can send you some stuff and show you some things that will help your back.
Oh, yeah, that would probably be great because I'm still a stubborn person. unless it gets real bad, I won't take anything, no, nothing to kill the pain, because I'm like, I'll deal with this on myself. If I don't, then I won't get used to it. So I'm just a dumb, stubborn person, and I still don't take care of myself like I should. But yeah, the only yoga experience I have is from my the Ring Fit Adventure game for my Switch, which is fun. But it seems not as hard, so it probably means I'm not actually doing it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is like people think of yoga as having to be like, those whatever those hot yogas or those like those really intense ones where they're like, we're gonna tone our abs and our this, and it's just like, I'm gonna stand on one leg for an hour and what it's like. That's not what the yoga practice is. And if you don't think of it as yoga but like a pose that helps you in a moment, like, great, you don't have to commit to P90X with a dream or whatever.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I'm just lazy, and so if it's not in a game, I pretty much don't work out anymore. I mean, especially now I can't because of gyms closing.
But yeah, you can't use much space. Yeah, that's difficult. I have social anxiety, so I hate gyms.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of hate.
But I really like finding workout videos. I find it helpful to have that guided direction of like stuff to do. Plus, I'm not like hyper vigilant in the process. Like, who are these meat shields around me, and how do I protect myself from them? But
yeah, my problem is like I just get bored, and like unless there's someone else there to like be like, you should try and push me. But then I'm also like, I don't really want.
You're angry at the person pushing you. Okay,
I'm not really angry at them.
I get angry at instructors that are way too motivational in the videos. I'm like, bitch. But I just have learned to feel into my working out thing. Like, I will just be like, I hate you, Karen, but I'm doing this. Like,
I don't really get angry. I just get like, if I'm with like one of my housemates and we go together, I'm like convincing him why I want to do it a lazy way, which is not what working out is in the first place.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, you should just do it. I was like, I'll be fine. Like, I'm out here, I'm doing something. It's
well, and I mean, that is the truth of it, though, is like doing any sort of activity, if you're normally literally here, like getting your heart rate up to be healthy for you. Like, none of us are really going to be athletes beyond a certain age. Like, even athletes, once they finish college or whatever, like, your body doesn't need to be that tone and that fit, but there's so much benefit to being active. So it's easy whenever you start getting into that to immediately be surrounded by really unhealthy mindsets again, and image problem and all that, but I think the way to do it, man.
I'll just say this for anyone listening. If you have a Switch and you are not an active person, but you want to play an active game, Ring Fit Adventure is great. It is an actual workout, at least for me, because I'm lazy. Like I worked out, or I played it yesterday I usually play for like an hour a day. And like, I don't know, like waist area right now, just sitting, I'm like sore because of, I don't know whatever I did yesterday. But like it gets me sweating and I'm a mess. It's great. It's a fun way to work out and to be active.
There you go.
But yeah, let's see. I had one more thing just to go back to teaching. So with this last, I guess, half of the semester, a lot of places did like online teaching. Did you do a lot of
that? Yes and no. So the sad thing is, as you probably noticed from common sense, is not every school and institution was equipped to handle that switch during COVID. And I would say that part of my institution was capable of handling it and part of it was not. And the big part of it that was not was the instrumental side, the music side. So we already have, our school is attempting to be mostly based online as it is. So for our gen ed classes, we use textbooks that require them to use online resources and do online quizzes and things. And if you do a lecture-based class, you have all of those assignments online, but you get the information in person rather than reading. And usually you're tested in class at some point. So our switch on the gen ed side was pretty easy, pretty smooth. I think just because we had already switched to that ebook, it wasn't a huge deal for my lecture classes and that switch over. What was a big deal, like they were still affected, but it was because they're experiencing kind of chaos in their lives as well. So I had students that had not submitted assignments for, a couple weeks, and then you get the email and they're like, hey, I lost my home, I had to move, or we didn't have internet and I had been using it at the school, but now we can't, blah, blah, blah. Oh.
You're good.
Am I back? Okay. And then some people were actually dealing with, somebody in their family had caught the virus or whatever. So there was a whole lot more of external life factors coming in again. And I think, I've heard some bad things from a friend who's returning and doing his master's right now. But I think most professors were being very, very understanding in that time. But, there also was that cutoff of like, sorry, you couldn't log in for 2 months, but you're not going to suddenly pass the course if you log in the day before the semester's over. But there's always people. It's very hard as college professors whenever you're teaching on-site in classes, especially weeding out, I don't want to say the liars, but we're trying to take advantage of you being lenient on everybody. Because you can get into trouble with student affairs if you treat two students in the same class differently. You have to be very aware when you write your syllabus of the language you use whenever you say that an extension is allowed, for instance. Because I didn't realize some of that stuff. I think my first semester, and it wasn't until a faculty meeting in between semester that it was like, oh, I definitely probably had a case come up, and that causes a big headache for administration. But anyways, for the music side, the music program for music majors and those taking lessons and stuff, I was still, even though I stopped working at MSSU, wasn't there for this past spring. I still am in touch with all those people there. And I saw the two institutions be able to do things very differently based on their resources. So NEO had to close its dorms and send everybody home. We are a community mostly very underprivileged. It's a junior college. Most people are either non-traditional students, or they're like the first person in their family to have college. A lot of them don't have internet at home, let alone their own music instruments, and we lend those out. So even the simple thing as making a video assignment to replace a lesson, or they made us create things for our ensembles, way to supplement the grade instead of the concert that we obviously couldn't have. We literally couldn't get every student to submit something because there was was just this huge majority of kids that had absolutely no access to an instrument or to a recording device, or both of those things. And so, those kids, they signed up for lessons, they signed up for ensemble, and they got what they got until we closed. And then, it was sort of like all over for them, which was really sad. Especially considering like the things that those people sacrificed to go to school. Okay, there was that side. That's the junior college side. 2-year program in Oklahoma. Missouri Southern side, they are actually a university. They have a department of music, and I believe they have a lot of video cameras that they were able to get to the students. I believe they totally shut down their facilities, and that students were able to come in and like access a marimba if they needed to, if they're in the area. So from what I saw from them, either the student had an instrument at home and videoed and was able to continue to have lessons, or they were able to come in person, video, then send it to the instructor and get feedback that way. I don't remember because I know they were still learning their percussion ensemble pieces, and I'm not sure if they actually came in together and played them ever, or if they did like a video mash. Because I just never saw that in product. I think a lot of the semester we spent thinking that, we may reopen. And that didn't happen. They lost that experience of coming in and working together and having that, just the ensemble experience, but they were still learning, progressing, getting feedback, doing all that stuff. But a lot of that, I think, is just, it's our socioeconomic disparity that we have in the country. Those towns are 30 minutes apart and have completely different accessibility.
That's wild. Oh yeah, I'm lucky because I didn't have any classes this past semester. I'm just in the writing stage of my thesis, so I feel like I've been completely out of the loop on both the teaching and being taught side.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I can only imagine, like, I know, like, these especially smaller towns, especially like even high schoolers and these families. I just wonder is like how these families that can't do this whole online stuff and like their struggle, and like just thinking about like poor college students on their own trying to do this too. It's a headache to say the least, and like more serious than you actually realize. But yeah, and now it's just, I guess, looking into next semester or the fall semester and hoping things will be better, or hopefully think things are going to figure out to be better for everyone some way. I don't know.
Yeah. There's, on that topic, that is a can of worms. A lot of schools are preparing to return, not necessarily as normal, but just at this point, saying that you will open your doors back open to have in-person classes is like a huge deal.
Yeah.
A lot of schools are cutting positions for faculty, and part of that is because they expect many parents to pull their kids from school and teach homeschool. A lot of students are either not enrolling in college at all right now, or they're only enrolling in online classes.
Yeah.
And so that's across the board, from public education through secondary education, or I guess primary and secondary, because it affects private schools too. And one of the big issues that I'm facing right now is I'm from a small, 2-year school. My position as an adjunct instructor, I'm hired semester to semester, and I'm never guaranteed a spot the next year. But they will wait. My position is entirely contingent upon their enrollment numbers. So if they don't have enough classes or enough kids enrolled in a class, they'll close that section, and then that's my job right there. So I fully expect to lose my NEO position and not know that for sure until classes start. At the same time, I've been applying and interviewing across 4 states, including places where I know people, where I know the directors there, or I know somebody who's leaving that district or whatever, and even sometimes gotten through the interview process and then been told, oh, hey, our school board just voted to eliminate all unfilled positions. And so that position you just interviewed for or applied for or whatever doesn't exist anymore. And I think we're going to see more and more of that as we get closer to school actually opening back up, because learn something in this process. Normally budgets aren't actually approved until in the middle of the school year, around September, October. But I think some of those schools where they're expecting to have problems with money and all that, they're going ahead and preemptively making the cuts that they would normally wait to do. And one of the ways they're doing that is taking advantage of people leaving districts and just eliminating the positions entirely, which, would be crazy if our government would bail out our schools like they do our banks, because what do we use schools for? Educating the youth. What's that for?
I mean, if you think if they could do that, they would fund schools better in the first place.
Yeah, well, that's a whole other.
It sure is.
Like I said, can of worms. It just exploded.
Okay, so that was a lot of teaching talk. I'm glad we got to talk a lot about that, because I always wonder how all my different friends, especially teachers, are doing. And because, like I said, I'm out of the loop of it on both sides. So I need to stay up to date on this kind of stuff. But
yeah, I mean, honestly, what saved me is just being adaptable. Like, I didn't get too far into it, but okay, I wanted to go back and talk about this. I knew that my position as an adjunct instructor is like really, really unstable. So I did NEO and MSSU in August of 2018, and I was rehired, and then all of a sudden this past January came up, and enrollment was down because within MSSU, another department had opened up a gen ed course that fulfilled the fine arts credit that general music did, that I normally taught. And so all these numbers that were normally in general music, some of those thinned out and went to another department. And that's what caused my position to drop. The week that classes were started, I was laid off. So what did I do to supplement income? Well, I got on Indeed, as we do. And I started looking at specifically education jobs, and pretty quickly Boys and Girls Club came up, and I had heard of it, but I didn't really know what it was until I started looking at that position. And then whenever I emailed somebody, because it was a very, very informal process compared to most education applications and interviews. There was just an email system. I got a very quick response and got placed at a higher position than what I actually applied for, because they were like, we never have college teachers, teach here. So I'm not doing music at all. I say that I sort of am in classes, but I'm doing art. It was literally like that position was open, and I've always been into art a little bit because I had a really awesome high school art teacher. Shout out to Natalie Davis. And I've just continued to paint for most of my life since then. But So that place is, they don't provide you a curriculum, so you're making stuff up each day, each week, whatever. But you're working with kids, so all your classroom management skills transfers, all of your brain break activities skills transfer. And for me, the nice thing is, like, I have to fill an hour, and a lot of times, the craft doesn't take that long. I taught music for a full year in an elementary school. So I have all kinds of like little song games and stuff. So I like to fill in the time with that. And you attempt to make it relevant, and sometimes you stretch. Okay, so they have these stupid little cactus things they did the other day. That was like a put together with stickers and wham bam, thank you ma'am, it's done. And I was like, oh no, we have 50 minutes left. You guys did that way too quickly. And I was like, where are cactuses found in, guys? And they're like, no, the desert. And we're like, hey, what countries have lots of deserts? And Mexico came up, and so I was like, right, here's a couple Spanish songs. So then you get all these kids just like wrecking Spanish, but they're singing and they're all on task, so it's fine. But anywho, so on teaching side, something that can save you is finding, if you don't want to completely jump ship, there are jobs out there that incorporate working with kids somehow, and providing education in ways that may be just alternate to what you viewed it as before you started.
Yeah. I just remembered you gave me, before I started doing my teaching, like a binder of, I think it was binder folder. You gave me a lot of stuff that you used when you was teaching elementary stuff that I could use. But I ended up never teaching elementary. I only ever taught middle and high school band. I did end up teaching a middle school general music class, but that was fine. But
I got to plug in my phone. Sorry.
No, you're good. So yeah, while that was a good talk on some teaching stuff, I do have, for this last bit, just want to talk about some other memories, not as much music or teaching related, but first, the last time I actually talked to you, I don't know if you remember this, was I accidentally called you.
Yep.
Crocodile. And then that was nice. I think that was not long after you went off to do your master's.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just in B-Dubs, Buffalo Wild Wings, with the percussion people. I don't remember which people, and then I somehow pocket dodged you. Then I just went and sat in my car for a while and talked. Then I don't remember why, but like last year, sometime in the past, while I've been in Hawaii, there was something I was wanting to text you about. And then I went to your number in my phone, and the area code is weird. It was a Hawaii area code. It was 808.
Yep. Yeah.
I was like, wait, did I? Because I got a whole bunch. I went through a couple different used phones, and I thought somehow adding these.
You had messed it up.
I thought I messed it up. I was like, oh no, I lost her number. It was
That's so funny.
Somehow just have one of these new Hawaiian numbers. And I was like, and then I just never did anything about it. I was like, I remember being like, oh, I'll get back in touch with her through Facebook or something and figure out what happened. So you just have a number with a Hawaiian area code?
Yeah, so I've had a weird life. My dad was in the Navy for 20 years. And back when I first got like a real phone and not a Cricket pay-as-you-go phone, he was stationed in Hawaii at the time, actually, on Honolulu. I think Waipahu, I think that's where his base was.
Yeah, I know where that is.
Yeah. So, like, every time I first call somebody, like, they will not answer because they assume it's some scam. I'm this person in Jamaica, and to save your social security number, give it to me right now or whatever. But no, he's stationed in there when we activated our phone plans, and I've only got one. I've only upgraded my phone once since then. I don't really buy into the whole gotta have the new iPhone.
Yeah,
I'm like, number one, I'm a teacher. I don't have that kind of money.
Yeah, I know. I'm the exact same way. I don't get why people think they need the newest phone because I don't use my phone for anything except for calling, texting people, and sometimes like watching YouTube. That's about it. That's all I
I
use it
mean,
for.
I
I
use
don't
it
need-
for a lot of stuff, and I use it a lot throughout the day. But if you take care of it, it's gonna do its job.
Yeah,
And I have a laptop. Like I don't need to be able to use it as a tablet or I don't know. It's like if I need a bigger screen, I'll just go to a computer.
yeah. I guess the only like real upgrade I see for stuff is I guess the water resistant stuff is cool. I've never dropped my phone in anything.
I mean, but like a phone case will do that too.
Yeah,
like,
and then like I guess an upgraded camera is cool. Besides that, it's like I don't know. I don't take that many pictures and stuff anyway. But yeah, I don't buy into the whole upgrade your phone every single time there's a new version now. I think it's ridiculous and a waste of money. But if people have the money, they can do what they want with it. I don't know. I'm fine with what I have, and I like it. But yeah, the other big memory is because whenever I asked you to be on the podcast, it was because you commented on one of my Facebook posts and you brought up a nice memory we shared where we went to one of our friends' family's house and stayed for like a week during Christmas.
Yeah. Yep, I did.
I mean, you were his roommate at the time, and then I was. We were planning like a percussion duo, and working an indoor drum line together. But yeah, I guess we were both going to be alone for Christmas, and he invited us, which was really cool. Really awkward though.
Yeah.
Go and stay
I mean, like it was funny because like we both had a lot of like family issues going on at that time.
Yeah.
And with every family, there's some kind of family issues going on at the time. So it was like we sort of traded ours for just somebody else's experience. But then it was kind of cool because we were right there with him, like, man, we know, like, you don't have to apologize to us. Like, that's why we're here, man. Like, ours is, imagine it worse.
But it was a fun week. It like once you get over the awkwardness, like his mom's cool and whatever. And I know him and I, we played a lot of disc golf on the Wii Sports Resort. That's what we did.
Yeah, we did that a lot. I forgot about that. Sorry.
But yeah, and then besides that, we went and met even more of his family, which was the most awkward thing I think I've ever.
Yeah, that was. I don't even remember. I just remember some stupid argument broke out.
Oh yeah.
Over some little thing, and like everything fell apart, and people were screaming and leaving and all that. And that was when Dalton was like, "Yo, I can't do this," and we were like, and we just packed up and left.
But yeah, really cool, really nice of them. It'll make
Man, okay, I cannot remember what the name of those freaking things his mom made. Or actually, I guess we all made them together, but it was like you took the Ritz crackers with the peanut butter and you added more, and then you dipped it in chocolate. Oh my God.
Oh, I don't remember.
They were amazing.
But I do, that does remind me, we ate a lot. Like
we did, yeah. It was good.
Oh man. I completely forgot about how good I ate that week. But yeah. And then at least on my side, the awkwardness because of what stuff that happened was weird, and we ended up leaving after we just went back to Cookville, and then I guess we ended up doing a New Year's thing at Jake's old apartment. I know Zach came. I think that was that New Year's. It must have been.
Well, I know that we left before New Year's, but I'm trying to remember what we did that New Year's at all. Maybe I was with Zach Allegrea and that bunch.
Yeah, I know his bunch was there.
Or I'm wondering if I'm thinking of a wedding. I don't know, freaking.
I don't know. From what I remember, there was a New Year's where it was. I know you were there because I went with you, or you were the one that invited me to go to it. And then that was the first time
Uh-huh.
I actually met Zach. And I'm pretty sure Adam was there.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. It was a long time ago, but yeah, that was a nice holiday season. But yeah, besides that, it was just uh, I think we hung out at your place a few times during that. Um, but yeah, and then eventually we were I guess technically roommates a little bit. It was more like I was crashing on the couch while I waited for you to move
Oh,
out.
yeah. You were, I don't know, you were in between places and then you're just waiting for one of us to move out.
Yeah, but that was actually nice. Like it was chill crashing on the couch, I guess. But yeah, I like that house too. It was cool.
Yeah, it was like in retrospect, like having lived a bunch of other places, it was a nice layout. It was a good size.
Mhm.
Really good for if you had, a few roommates like we did there. Um, I would like to have that kind of like situation again, like not like all by myself living there, but if I had a couple roommates, like it's good.
Yeah, I'm hoping that I'll have something like that again. Um, and it's a decently sized place. It's just that was going starting. I guess I moved in or started in that in May up through the summer. That was just a really cool summer for me because it
Mm.
was just pretty much a party summer for me. And whatever. But
Mm.
yeah, good times. It was really, yeah, really nice, really awkward. To go back and say I would do it again, it was nice, but I don't know. Just imagining going back in an awkward situation is always something I got.
Yeah, well, and especially with this much time passed, it's like I wouldn't have the same reaction to situations, and I wouldn't behave the same way because I'm I don't want to say I'm more mature now because that's lame, but it's just like I've got more confrontational conflict resolution skills. I've got different expectations. I communicate a little better.
Mm.
All those things kind of play in. And then, of course, like since I lived on my own for a few years, um, I've I like things a certain way too. So I think certain things would be harder.
Yeah. Oh well, and that's kind of why they're all memories now. Something we can look back on fondly because they're over with. But
Mhm.
I'm just going to go ahead. Thank you for being on my podcast. We're going to wrap up right here. A lot of great stuff we talked about. But yeah, just thank you, Allison, for agreeing to do this. The first person I asked to be on here, and I'm glad you said yes. Everyone else that's been on it so far came, I say came to me. I put the call out and then they responded. You're the first one I asked. So thank you so much for being on here. Uh, but
Hey, you're welcome. I just wanted to catch up because man,
oh yeah,
it's been a hot minute. Yeah.
yep. And
But,
that's
so
why I do this. So I'm glad we can. But let me just thank everyone for watching. Um, if you want to catch up and see what I'm doing besides just this podcast, you can find me on a bunch of social medias Facebook and Twitter, it's DAC Stories. Instagram, it's D_AC_stories. And then I'm also on YouTube and Byte, also DAC Stories. You can find me on all that and follow me. But thank you again to Allison. Thank you all for watching. I'm DAC.
keep pumping that cool air, man.
And bye.
Bye.